Hi, I'm DKWILL, and this is DK. We'll talk about it. Well, like I said, I guess I'll have to make multiple videos, and I'm trying to even chop this one down even further because I want to make sure that people watch as much of my videos when I produce them as I can, and the best way to do that is to keep them short. But I had more on XRP, like I mentioned, and the other video turned out longer than I wanted it to be, so here's the next video on XRP. And this is based on an article from yesterday by Emma Newbery. One top cryptocurrency to buy before it soars 450%, according to Standard Chartered.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Yes, it is time for them to let XRP out the stable. It's time for this train to have left the station. It's time for this rocket to start having its countdown because now XRP seems to be increasing in its insertion in the narrative. And this is just one example because before it was a hush hush, couldn't say it, but now they're putting it out there. And Emma Newbery covered the one top cryptocurrency to buy before it soars 450%. And Standard Chartered thinks XRP is that one. It says Ripple's XRP has had a momentous 6 months, soaring almost 350% since November. What's more, Standard Chartered thinks it can go even higher. Of course, we think it can go even higher too. And some of my prior videos indicated that. I'll put them in the cards. That's bogey. Analyst Jeffrey Kendrick predicts that Ripple will reach $12.50 by the end of 2028, and that's a 450% upside from today's price. Bogey. In the near time, Kendrick thinks XRP can reach $5.50, more than double the current price of about 219 before the end of the year. And he cites three major catalysts. The potential approval of a spot XRP exchange traded fund. Well, this article shows that XRP ETF, approval odds skyrocket because the World Economic Forum has backed XRP Ledger for global tokenization. I have a parrot. For those of you who are new, those of you who have been here a while know about Bogey. Bogey's becoming a bit of a celebrity, but Bogey needs to learn how to shut up sometimes. So this is pretty impressive that the World Economic Forum backs XRP Ledger for global tokenization. It says the keying of an exchange traded fund, XRP exchange traded fund, will legitimize the altcoin as an investment asset. So it is being awaited with bated breath. Now, I always get suspicious of these buildups. I never really trust the powers that be, and sometimes I think it's a setup for a depressing outcome. But nonetheless, there's still the potential that it will do exactly what they think it's going to do. And what they think it's going to do is become the number one top crypto to buy before it soars to 450%. But this World Economic Forum article says, as a result, confidence about its approval is going through the roof, with Polymarket data showing that it has hit 84%. Now, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me, right? Is that how it says? Because I'm a cliche killer. But even though it just makes sense that this would be the case, they are really churning and burning those hardcore gorilla grip XRP holders by building up anticipation and then stripping it from our hands. At the same time, a lot of people will see this and they'll put in their long bets, their margin bets, and they'll put in some calls to be able to buy it cheap now, buy it cheap later at the current prices. And usually what will happen is there'll be a dip that goes down instead of it going up. That's why they say buy on rumor and sell on the news. Well, That's also a potential outcome. It says here ETFs enable diversification at a low cost because investors are not required to purchase individual assets. Well, they are. And like I said, because they are required to purchase them, unless they're a futures type contract, then they are the ones who can also manipulate the price and the outcome of the success of the ETF that they're offering you in this instance. And in this instance, since XRP was determined not to be a security by the courts, they gave them a vacuum of protection that they're not manipulating a market that's under the jurisdiction of the SEC, because see, the ETF is under the jurisdiction of the SEC, but not the coin XRP. So they can manipulate the coin, but they can't manipulate the ETF, if that makes any sense. So this news is worth covering because they believe that the other thing is the XRP ledger growth and increased stablecoin transactions. Well, speaking on increased growth, here's the price of one XRP if the total crypto market reaches a $35 trillion market. And that's about 10 times what it is right now. And for the sake of time, because I know nobody really finishes them, the articles will be in the description. But it says XRP price will climb to a new two-digit peak if the asset maintains its market dominance when the global market cap hits 35 trillion. Now, of course, they have to give you a timeline of when they think it's going to hit 35 trillion. I think they're being less than optimistic in some of their projections. But in his breakdown, Captain Tob, whoever that is, suggested if the market reaches 35 trillion XRP, bogey, could have a market cap of 1.25 trillion, keeping maintaining its current level of dominance. And based on the circulating supply of 56.81 billion XRP, that would put a single XRP price at $22. And that doesn't really seem completely out of reach to me. And in fact, like I said, I'll put the cards on here because I did a video referencing roughly that range. So when we look at the promise of XRP ledger growth, well, we can anticipate that. That's absolutely happening. And then it says increased stablecoin transactions. Let's not forget about the Genius Act that may submit US dollar dominance in the digital economy. And what the legislation about is a key piece of US stablecoin legislation awaiting a full Senate vote may emerge as a net positive for the US's dollar's dominance in the digital asset economy. What are the prospects on this bill moving forward? Well, this article brought out how the stablecoin bill, U.S. Senate nears a vote on Genius Act amid bipartisan push for amendments. So the U.S. Senate is inching towards passing the Genius Act amid a flurry of last-minute amendments to the stablecoin bill. All of these articles will be in the description. I can't read them for the sake of time. This is DK Will Talk About It, although I seem to be doing a lot of reading about it. But when we look at this top potential to be the top one cryptocurrency, we can see it forming faster and faster to be the case. And then when we consider Ripple settlement agreement with the Securities and Exchange Commission as the other factor they think will be one of the three major catalysts, with an anticipation for very soon seeing 550 instead of the $12 and 50 by the end of 22. I don't know what their projection is for the $22, but like I said, I think they're being less than optimistic about it. I think it's going to be a lot better and a lot faster, but I also think they're going to shake that rug. And anyone who's known me for a while knows what I'm talking about. So yes, the number one top cryptocurrency to buy before it soars is XRP. But see, now it's not a secret. And now my trust factor is getting a little bit edgy because when the masses find out, it's probably a little late. But I will admit that they do need the masses to come in for liquidity, not just the institutions. We got to get retail in. And retail goes through the institutions in many cases as well, through the financial advisor outfits and things like that. So when we look at what the price could be with a $35 trillion market cap, that's not completely out of reach. So it's some pretty promising news. I actually squeezed all this into one video, and I think it's going to be, once again, longer than I wanted it to be, but I did it. Because, see, this is DK Will Talk About It, and I've talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.